G'day guys, video on the Mazda CX-5 diesels, stay away, twin turbo. I think I've previously made a video about the setup of these hoses and these hoses and removing the EGR, but this video I'll take a little further. So this is the EGR, and it gets dirty, you get a low EGR code, and there's the EGR cooler, right? And before anyone says anything, the correct way to do this is to have the intercooler, the EGR cooler, the intake manifold, and the DPF clean. But within reason of experience, guys, if you've got this car and you want to work on it and you're quite proficient, here's a couple of tips. So the EGR cooler sits in here. The EGR sits in here. Okay. So basically, the cooler, why am I doing this to myself? Okay, the EGR sits in there and the cooler bolts over it. So if you want to take your cooler off and clean it, take your cooler off and clean it. I doubt anyone at home has the capacity we do here of air. So what we do, we actually modify that fitting. I didn't use just that fitting to clean, but I'll show you an example. I actually used that fitting to clean. Okay, and what you do, you alternate between blowing in here and in here, and you get plumes of black shit coming out of there. Now, of course, you can take the housing to the turbo off and pull the cooler out and all that, but you're going to be doing a lot more work. So if you find that the cooler here is blocked, right, you can clean it like that. There you go. Okay, and the reason it's doing that is I'm going from it, and I'm giving it different angles as well. We've also loosened a lot with just using that fitting, which we have a huge capacity for air here. Now, to get this stud out, you would technically have to continue removing this boost, the intercooler feed pipe, and loosen the EGR cooler because the nature of this bracket. Do I have a flash on? No. Why not? Why do I always do this? And now it's too late to put the flash on. I thought I had the flash on, guys, sorry. So the tip here is to lever here without damaging anything, right? Lever this bracket and get the EGR out and catch that gasket. So it's not going to be about how to do the job. It's just a few little tips. Also, to get the bottom bolt out of the EGR, which I remember mentioning this previously, I think, you're going to need to bend these hoses down. Okay? They're not water hoses, but nevertheless, they're right in the way. They're right in the way there. And don't forget the EGR's on, so you've got to push them down when the EGR's on from here. For this bracket, you've got to remove those nuts. Okay, you can see here the job. EGR bolts, EGR top bracket for the connector. I've pulled the EGR motor out. If you're lucky, you can pull the EGR motor out, and if you want to muck around that way and you're an amateur, you can sort of blow through here, but you know, it's not going to really do the job. But this is sort of a maintenance thing now. Yes, the intake manifold should be taken off at these Ks and cleaned, but let's just stick with this, right? We have an EGR low flow. I have fixed Range Rovers and many cars by just cleaning this pipe. But what Mazda's done here, they've given a huge capacity and it's not really easily going to block. I've cleaned it up. Okay, I'll clean the mating surfaces later, but this pipe is not going to block up easily. What blocks up here is the EGR cooler. You could see the plumes of smoke that just came out of it. And technically, yeah, I should pull it out, but I'm not going to. So everything within reason, block off your cooler lines, and you're going to find the majority of, so you can see here, like, got to get this nut out, got to get this stud out. There's a nut here that holds on the stud for the EGR. And what's happened now is this is the bracket. That's the cooler bracket there. This is what you want to gently push back to get this cooler out without pulling everything else out. So what you do, it's sort of retaken its shape, I think. Oh, there we go. So that's the position of the EGR. and that's where you sort of push down on these air hoses here a little bit to get the bottom bolt out. And obviously you don't want to be damaging the surfaces and prying the EGR out, because as I can prove to you right now, I could take the EGR out like that. Now, was it just this vehicle, or it's never been done before? I think they're all going to be a problem to get this EGR out. But if you just pry here gently, okay, and just push this cooler back, this very well made bracket for the cooler, this bracket for the cooler sits over the EGR stud. Okay, quite a clever design, but not exactly the best design. But yeah, it's all sort of crammed in here, isn't it? Okay, hope that helps. And yeah, if you can increase the flow through the cooler, clean everything up. Sorry, I've replaced this. Sorry guys, this was off as well. Okay, take that off and clean inside. And once you do that, do a regen on the DPF. I hope that helps. Bye.